RAC meeting minutes. We'll go into public comment. This
Robert,
segment, yes.
take a look at the chat, please.
You know what? Let me pull that up from Heather. Yeah, there's actually a lot of stuff in here, so. Okay, so access to the minutes is not. Okay, 1 second. Actually, everybody should have access if they have the link. Is there? Do we want to review the minutes?
Hey, Perry.
Yes.
I believe he means the minutes. Rad 5, are you talking about the minutes? Do you need access to the minutes? Or
Yeah, it's like request edit access. It may, if you probably maybe check with your email, it might show the notification for access. I don't know if that's the same exact one I'm looking at.
1 second then. You're talking about today's minutes.
Yeah, for today's one.
Okay, all right. You threw me off because I'm just like, I thought maybe those are kind of okay.
Oh no no.
All right, I was so lost. Great, I got a vendor going down my house, by my house, honking the little horn, selling stuff. As you can probably hear in the background. This just took forever. I should do some fun.
All right, Robert, good to go.
So my understanding then there is no more issue with getting approval or getting access to the minutes? Josh?
No, I think we resolved it right now.
Okay, yeah, because my email is still like.
Oh, wait, give me 1 quick second.
Actually, I'm in right now. So let me see. Share request pending.
Wait a minute.
Actually, I have 2 of them here.
Yeah, Robert, I'm on the pending minutes one, but that one doesn't allow me to type anything in.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm in the correct one, though.
If you need to, Robert, I did send you a direct message with the one that we're talking about. That may be just the one in particular. I don't know if there was like multiple different ones or what it may be, but it was just.
No, there may have been one. Let me make sure it says the 31st at the top. So the 31st, because there was another one, and I think what happened is I made a copy by mistake. Because when we originally were gonna have the meeting last week.
Oh yeah.
And I think instead of going and changing them, I think I made a copy by mistake.
Yeah.
Either way, let me see. Let me see. Oh, wow. I didn't have access to it. Got it this way. Oh, it's loading now. I think this is the correct one. I just sent it to both of you because can you do changes now? Is that the right one?
All right, let me see.
Because for some reason I tried to pull it up with my other computer. It's telling me not. I might not be logged in, but it should be. It's telling me I have access to it.
Oh man.
Let me go to the link in the text chat.
All right, let me refresh my Google Doc maybe.
Sure.
Is somebody talking? All right, there should be. I did them both, so you should have access to modify both. Just confirm before we move forward.
All right, let me see here. Yeah, I got access. Josh, you got access?
Yeah, I put both of your names in there, so it should
Okay.
have been both of you. But just make sure.
I don't see for mine here. Let me refresh quickly, but
Yeah, what the?
That's the one you gave me the link to, right? Because that's the one that.
from what I see, oh no, it's still not. But I think if it makes it easier to bypass it, I mean, I can always just write it down, then we can get that later. Because I know probably right now we're on time strain.
Yeah,
I could just write down whatever.
Okay, public comment. This segment of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the Regional Affairs Committee on any matter of concern that is keyword not on this current agenda. As stated on this agenda, a time limit of 3 minutes per speaker and 15 minutes per topic shall be observed. The law does not permit any action to be taken nor extended discussion of the items not on the agenda. The Regional Affairs Committee may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed. However, further information, please contact myself, the chair. My email is there pursuant to California Government Code 54945.4.3. And with that said, so everybody understands why I pointed out the not, this would be items that aren't on the agenda. The members of the public under each particular item, I will give them the opportunity if they raise their hand to be recognized and they can talk under those items particularly. With that said. All right, so with that said, I see one hand raised from Mr. Daniel Orda. I will recognize you. This is an item that is not currently on the agenda.
Great, thank you, Chair. Hey, Google, 2.5 minutes. So thank you very much for recognizing me, Regional Affairs Committee. Today, I just wanted, I rise today to bring something to your attention that is a little confusing, particularly the fact that Julie Adams' contract, the executive director contract, was approved yesterday in a closed door session. I just wanted to point out that it's a little concerning that the executive director enjoys closed sessions for critiques of an evaluation, um, and having her contract approved, especially considering that she makes a six-figure salary, while many of our representatives barely get $100 a month on the delegate level, and even some of our top leaders at the executive committee level barely get $1,000 a month. So it kind of puts things into perspective about who's running the organization and how much influence she has over so many different aspects of SSCCC. I've been really disappointed in the fact that the negotiation of her contract wasn't something that was sent out to the schools in general, and there wasn't more of an outreach to the SBAs and to the students at large. It's a big deal because people say 1.6 million, 2.2 million students are represented every year by this organization. And if that's $1 of all those students are going to this organization, that's a pretty big budget. That's $1.5 million to $3 million a year. And honestly, I have no idea why her contract was approved and why it was approved behind closed doors, especially amidst a lot of allegations of misconduct, playing favorites, and possibly mismanagement of funds. And it's clear that the mission has been complicated by a culture of, I don't know, like a hostile work environment ever since I've been in there. And so I want to raise it to your attention because I think that this is going to be a larger discussion and something that's not going to end when June 30th comes. And I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. And I look forward to continue working with you in the future, because I'll be around for at least another year. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to address the Regional Affairs Committee? Members of the public? All right, seeing none, public comment is now closed. We will move on to business. Item A, the Student Senate for California Community Colleges, Accountability Procedure AP 1000, VP 1000. This accountability policy revision, RAC will review further amendments to policies regarding Student Senate for California Community Colleges accountability procedure from April 2024. Brad Floor, Orda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Is it possible for me to share the screen?
Okay, I stopped sharing, so you should have access because I have it open as long as I don't have it up.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for the time today. I know that we're moving towards the end of the semester and the term, and we kind of just, things are really either busy or they're starting to not get busy anymore. So I just want to again thank you for taking the time to be here. Where, as you may have remembered earlier in the term, I was very concerned about the accountability panel and not the panel, but the process, the accountability policy, because if you look at it, there's too much that goes on behind closed doors with this policy. So, and it focuses too much on a punitive approach rather than a restorative approach. And so originally what I wanted to do was open that up so that way we could focus on repairing the SSCCC rather than removing people and, just accusations flying and everything and misinformation occurring and rumors flying about, and it was kind of interesting because, when I was proposing this earlier in the term, as the accountability panel was convened, and we saw some of those things actually occurred. There was, some information that was not really, it was very ambiguous at best, and so what I'd like to do is to fix that. And so we did pass adjustments several meetings ago, but I wanted to go ahead and revisit that again to refine it with this group here. And so I did make some changes to our previous approvals to see if we can get more of a concrete agreement between all of us. Because I think the vote was it narrowly passed last time, and what I want to do is try to find something that works for everybody. And so I'm going to go ahead and also put the link in the chat. So if you want to click on it yourself and read ahead, you can. But I made some changes here, and what I specifically want to point out is that the aim is to transition the accountability procedure from a punitive approach to a more restorative and transparent process. Because our current policy, like I said before, emphasizes punitive measures that can be misused by a select few, which is not in the best interest of fostering a positive, collaborative environment for our organization. So the first thing I wanted to point out was the automatic consideration for removal based on unexcused absences and tardies. It's all still in here. So this first section is completely untouched. Let me go ahead and zoom out a little bit so we can see a little better. The section that I did change was section 2, the conflict resolution panel. So what I proposed to do was change the name completely from accountability panel to conflict resolution panel. This would focus on forming a group that is willing to work together transparently to emphasize growth and peer mediation rather than cutting people out and whatnot. And so if you read through this section, I'll just read through it real quick because it's not very long at all. It's like a page and a half. So section 2 says a conflict resolution panel shall be established with the purpose of amicably resolving disputes and allegations involving SSCCC members. The panel shall consist of 7 members elected by the board of directors to ensure fairness and prevent bias. And these numbers can be changed, but the 7-member configuration would be 3 regional affairs directors, 3 legislative affairs directors, 1 member at large from the college community, and 2 executive members as ex officio members. Now, the panel would operate with a focus on, like I mentioned before, transparency, promoting an environment where all parties feel heard and respected. And actually, let me back up just a little bit for more context. Now, the conflict resolution panel would be invoked by the VP, right? So in addition to the panel already being like what I'm proposing is that the conflict resolution panel be something that is like a regular committee that meets once per month. But in here in the policy where it states that in all cases involving attendance, the VP shall notify. And before the VP notified the president and the executive director, then it went to the accountability panel. And a lot of that is insulated from the board in general. And so there's a lot of missed opportunities for mediation. And so what I proposed instead was that the VP, if there's an issue involved that someone like, maybe complaints go to the vice president, right? The vice president would notify the conflict resolution panel and it would go onto their committee agenda. And if warranted, then they can proceed with the removal process as it normally goes through removal. But the difference would be that the panel would already be convening once a month on an active basis in this 7-member panel to keep their eye out for problems that are arising before they even do. And so going back to this right here, so this would be the configuration: 7 people at this configuration. And so the panel would operate, like I said before, Okay, disputes will be handled openly within the organization with an emphasis on education, understanding, and personal growth of all members involved. This approach is intended to prevent rumors, the stifling of voices, points of view, and the exploitation of closed sessions where information can be controlled. It addresses concerns from past and present board members regarding the lack of transparency in the current accountability process, which often results in punitive measures without proper opportunity for the accused to defend themselves or resolve issues if needed. And so moving on to 3, in instances where the dispute involves sensitive information, confidentiality will be maintained to protect the privacy of individuals. However, the overarching aim is to foster a culture of support and empowerment, avoiding the negative implications of punitive actions where possible. The panel shall meet once a month to proactively address disputes, and engage in peer mediation, and to implement relationship building activities to maintain a positive and collaborative environment within the SSCCC. So this is all like active stuff. Number 5, panel members would be elected at the beginning of the term with a reconfiguration occurring in December to address any issues and ensure continued effectiveness. So basically the seven on the panel would be elected at the beginning of the term and then again in December just to kind of mix the bag. So that way, we can prevent collusion and, people chumming up to the conflict resolution panel, basically. And the last section here, which is fairly short, the conflict resolution process. So the process is initiated upon a receipt of a formal complaint, which can be introduced by any member within the California Community College system. And the complaint must be in writing and accompanied by relevant evidence, just similar to what happens now. The conflict resolution panel would convene to review the evidence and work towards a resolution, and the process would be conducted in 3 stages. There'd be an initial mediation where the panel would facilitate a dialogue between the parties involved to seek an understanding and a potential resolution. Number 2, follow up. It would be if initial mediation does not lead to a resolution, the panel would convene again to explore further avenues for reconciliation, including the possibility of involving a neutral third-party mediator, which I kind of left that open just in case someone wanted to add something in there. And number 3, board review. Should the conflict remain unresolved after 3 attempts? And that means, what I mean by 3 attempts, it doesn't mean like, somebody sends out an email and a meeting doesn't happen. That means 3 actual meetings between the disputed parties and resolution can still not be resolved, then the matter would be escalated to the board of directors and a special meeting could be called where the issue would be presented, discussed, and a decision made on the majority vote of the board.
Rad Orda, I know that Kimberly or Rad 10 actually had her hand up for a minute or so. So if you want to see if she had a question that might be able to be tackled before you go too much further.
Okay, yeah, and I was almost done. So
Okay.
Did you want to recognize her?
Yeah, I'll recognize her. You want to wait or do you want to let him finish?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's wrapping.
Okay, go ahead and wrap up then.
Okay, great. Yeah, so okay, so the last part, the board review. So after 3 attempts, actual attempts, where mediation occurs, like party A, party B get together with the conflict resolution panel, and after 3 of those actual meetings, if it still can't get resolved amicably, then it would be escalated to the board of directors, where the board can decide, hey, well, it looks like we're going to recommend the removal of such and such, or or any other decision. This would keep things from, I guess, this whole process would keep problems from rotting underneath the boards, so to speak. It would give a chance for people to work out differences or conflicts or potential conflicts before they even happen. So that way we can have, fresh mediation that is directly addressed, basically. And so, yeah, so in the end, the goal of the conflict resolution panel is not to remove members from their positions, but to bridge differences and enhance the cohesiveness of the SSCCC. The panel's role is to guide members through disagreements, providing support and facilitating constructive outcomes. And that's it. That's the whole thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Rad Orda. I will go ahead and recognize Rad 10.
Thank you. So I have a few maybe questions, both questions and concerns about this. First, the makeup of it, I'm not really a fan of like having board members on there. I understand that currently it's 3 vice chairs, which I think is more appropriate given the fact that like, for example, this conflict that came up our most recent like in-person board of directors meeting, not only was that like overwhelmingly affecting the aura and the energy and the engagement of the board members, but there was already discussion even going into the meeting, which is not okay, not supposed to be standard practice. And how could we ensure that that kind of behavior will not continue if we were to like specifically put rads and lads? I understand that we have higher I guess arguably there's like a hierarchy within the regional officers and stuff, but I still feel that vice chairs should be given that. And by rads and lads taking that away from them, it's kind of remodifying their job description, which kind of is a further problem. Additionally, I feel that having a committee regularly occurring and meeting and stuff is kind of a little bit of it's like if there's no, it kind of feels like, okay, this is a conflict resolution committee, and I get that it's like, you know, regularly occurring in case something comes up, but it feels like a little bit taunting just because it's like, oh, we're just waiting for something to happen. We're meeting and like, what if no conflict ever comes up or it's not significant enough for them? Then what's the point of having those members, you know, take the time out of their day, out of their month, week, whatever, to meet, and then they really don't do anything? I guess those are some of my concerns, but I see Madam President has her hand up.
Yes. So before I recognize Madam President, I did, when you were saying and going through the dynamics of it, of the 3 rads and 3 lads on there, I did see potential problems of conflict coming out of it. And then if it's a really sensitive issue, causing more tension, especially if you have a group of people that aren't respectful to the process of things, of tainting the process. I like the idea of this, but the dynamics of the rads and the lads of being the board of directors people, because these are the people that are going to have the final decisions with it. I can see something with that maybe needing a little more work, but I like the idea of like I guess like a mediation or arbitration or whatever you want to call it concept, with the dynamics of it being a little bit different. But I could see possibly even Brown Act things happening here, so many different things, even though that's not the full amount of the number of the board, but I could see problematic issues with that. But I think that could do a little more conversation with that. But with that said, I'll recognize Madam President.
So just to give more clarification regarding the language included in this procedure, first and foremost, all policy revisions should be going through the Internal Affairs Committee, and that's for good reason. Secondly, regarding the language that is in this, I feel that the language is super convoluted when it comes to it being a proper policy language and procedure. The point of us having concise policy and procedures is so that it is not confusing for those who are not experienced with reading these sorts of things. And I think that goes against the goal of it. And then additionally, just to provide more context regarding the accountability panel being comprised of 3 random vice chairs and not including any board of directors members, which has been a point that was brought up already. But yes, because of possible Brown Act violations, and also because if we have a panel of conflict resolution comprised of solely like board of directors members, that is centralizing the power on the state level. The point of us having the 3 vice chairs is to allow for those on the region level, on top of those who are not involved in the conflict, most likely, because let's remember that the accountability panel is only enacted for board of directors members. It's not enacted for a regional officer. So any vice chair disregarding the vice chair of the region that the board of director member is part of, that is why we have the vice chairs be the ones in charge of the panel. Other than that, I would recommend, from an advisory standpoint, to very much simplify. If you're unable to get the point across in more concise sentences, I think this would harm the intent behind the procedure. And that's just a recommendation that I have, and just to give the committee more context behind why we have vice chairs and regional officers instead of a board of director member.
Right, is there, let's see, any other hands? Okay, I will, also to keep in mind, there's 3 minutes on the clock here. I will recognize Daniel Orta.
Great, thank you, Chair. This is my first time reading this update. There's a lot of really good ideas here, and it makes me reflect a little bit about this group that I was involved with in high school and at another college. And it was called our peer helpers. And our peer helpers they worked with our student body association and for the student population at large. And these peer helpers, it was kind of like they were a different type of group, right? And I can kind of imagine that this would increase communication. Not only is this an opportunity to increase communication with student body associations, but you can actually maybe have the SBAs send one of their peer helpers or conflict resolution specialists. And maybe I could definitely see that people feeling more of a fair shot, right? If not only do you get a delegate, but you also get to elect a conflict manager, right? Who's assigned to the committee, and that committee meets, once a month. And their whole job is not to interfere with the business of the SSCCC, but to work on practicing conflict management and conflict resolution techniques. So that not just because they're waiting for a mistake to happen, but so that they're trained and prepared, and that it's kind of like having like a group of people who are positive and know the techniques and are also what's that called, unbiased, and able to provide like a different perspective, because I know sometimes politics and different opinions can raise the blood pressure of a few, and it leads to arguments and discord, and sometimes it colors our perspective on things. So that might be an interesting way to go. I was just thinking about it as the conversation was being held right here, that maybe that could be something, maybe that should be something that might be considered. Thank you, Chair.
All right, so we're at 1 minute right now. Is there any further discussion or any kind of action?
Chair?
Yes, you recognize Rad Order.
Thank you. To just address some of the things that were mentioned just briefly. So regarding the internal affairs handling the policy, I believe this was discussed and presented at the December Board of Directors, and the board voted for the Regional Affairs Committee to reform this policy, and that's why it's in here and being reformed. The second thing I wanted to address is, there was a mention of the panel not having anything to do. In my experience, there's always some kind of disputes, whether small or large, and the problem is letting them persist or resolving them ahead of time and being proactive. And as far as I do agree that I definitely we should probably concisely formulate the policy, and maybe I guess what I'd like to propose at this point, if we keep moving forward, in order to have more people involved. I'd like to move to create a task force of RIC members, so that way there's more than just myself that's working on this. So that way there's a cross patch of members working on this. So I'd like to move to create a Regional Affairs Committee task force to review the accountability procedure for more constructive policy.
All right, with that said, there is a motion on the floor. Is there a second to this motion?
Point of clarification.
Yes.
Just a point of clarification. When would this task force be active? Would it be the next board, or would it be this board?
Rad 4.
Thank you, Chair. I'd say this board with any remaining time left, and then it would be kind of grandfathered into the next group. So if it wasn't, obviously resolved or perfectly crafted within the remaining time that we have left, the next RAC task force would pick it up.
All right. With that said, did that answer your clarification? All right. Thumbs up. All right. Is there a second for this motion? All right. Seeing none, motion dies.
Oh.
Yeah, wait. Rad 9.
Yeah, I was gonna go ahead and second it.
All right. There's a second.
I object.
All right. So who ejected?
Rad
No,
10.
I think. Okay, 10. All right. So with that said, we are moving into discussion. Rad.
Chair,
Yes.
I believe we ran out of time on this agenda item, so would we just go ahead and go straight into a vote?
Yes. Actually, we'll go into a vote. And with that said, I will go ahead and I will move down the line and do a roll call, since that's usually what happens because I don't have a poll everywhere or even thought about using it. All right, so Rad 1, how do you vote?
Point of clarification, what is the yes vote and what is the no vote?
Okay, so the yes vote would be to create, I guess, a standing committee that would, I believe the word was task force, a standing task force that would look at this policy and in the remaining of our term of office, and it would be forwarded off to the new incoming board as well. And then they would hope to take something out of this, I guess, and try to get something out of this further. So a yes vote would be to create a task force that would be the remaining of our term and into next term.
All right, I'll vote yes.
All right. Rad 2,
Yes.
Rad 3, Rad 4,
Yes.
Rad 5,
No.
Rad 6,
Yes.
Rad 7, Rad 8, or representatives from 7 or 8, Rad 9,
Yes.
Rad 10.
No.
All right, so we have 2 no's and 5 yays. So motion so passes. I would like to get a point of clarification. I entertained this item because this was something that actually got moved to board of directors, and then it was tabled twice. I brought it back at the request to do some revisions to it because it wasn't really clear on it and it needed some work. So to Madam President, on how that would be handled at this point, if it would be something that this committee would handle. Obviously, we made a vote to create a task force to handle that, but would this be under still the scope of the board of directors?
I think your question should have been asked before there was a
Probably.
vote.
Yeah, probably
Um,
should have definitely.
Yeah, definitely it should have been asked before the vote because the motion passed and was approved by RAC. So you now have a task force for this policy. Regarding the accountability panel and whether or not it's under the scope of the board of directors, no matter what, all policy revisions go to the final say of the board of directors. And I would also like to say that RAC, it was originally referred to RAC for the original revisions for you all to review it. You reviewed it in RAC, and you referred it back to board of directors. Because of time, the board of directors has not been able to get to the item. So right now, those revisions are still pending. And that was what I was
Actually,
referring to.
correction, it wasn't actually due to time. It was actually tabled by by RAD 4. So it was tabled, postponed, not tabled by. So that that's the correction there. So that's significant. That's why I was asking, because I just came to my mind.
Yeah, so continuing the point I was making, whether or not it's under the scope of board of directors is not a question, because no matter what, it would be under the board of directors. If the regional affairs committee would like to revise the proposed, regardless of whether or not it was postponed or tabled, would like to revise what was already approved and referred to the board of directors for final approval, that is up to the discretion of the regional affairs committee. And what I'm hearing is, since the regional affairs committee postponed the item, then I will make sure that is not going to be on the June board of directors agenda, since I am hearing you all want to do further revisions on this pending the works of the task force. Is that correct?
My understanding, that is correct based on the vote.
All right. So regardless, it would go to the board of directors and will always be under the scope of the board of directors.
All right.
Just ensure that, because of the very, very, very short timeline, this will most likely go into the next term and go to the new task force. You have to elect a new task force for the regional affairs committee to review this, make sure they're well informed of what is going on and the ramifications and process of this, as regional affairs committee do not typically handle policy, so they will not be informed of what this responsibility is.
Thank you. All right. With that said, we will move on to the next item, item B. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Resolution S 23.02.03. This is the gift cards, certificates, and other vouchers for students. Regional Affairs Committee will collaborate, possibly take action. So we'll get an update in regards to what the progress of this is. Do you have any updates for RAD 1?
Sure, I can give everybody a little bit of an update, and then I think that it's going to need some more time to be developed. Can I share my screen?
Yes. You should be able to share now.
Okay, please see. Okay. Let's see. Okay, can you guys see everything?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so when we first received the task force assignment, we started with a bang. We had some really good ideas for how to organize the information we want to pursue and where we want to take it. And then, of course, the end of the semester came and I lost a little bit of momentum. So apologies to anybody who was waiting for updates from me. And then I just wanted to kind of show what we got organized in the meantime. So I think it was really important to just state a really clear objective for the task force, which was to develop a toolkit for student organizations within the California community college system to empower them to advocate for expanded gift card access and financial assistance in the community college setting without impacting their financial aid. Does that sound like what the objective of the resolution was? That was the question put to the task force committee, and everybody seemed to agree that that was an adequate objective. We just kind of set up some we set up some steps that we wanted to take and some measurable steps, and then we actually met early in May, and I went a little bit further into the objective, which was to build support for and develop a toolkit that students and student organizations can use to disseminate information about resource expansion. I said resource expansion this time instead of financial expansion, without impacts to student financial aid, because sometimes some of our programs will give things like equipment. Such resources would include gift cards, certificates, vouchers, and equipment. We wanted to identify who we can speak with in terms of our research. So the first group that came to mind was our assistance programs. Some of the examples that came up were student life and basic needs offices, college foundations, and then of course our student stakeholders and student organizations. And then we got into a little bit more defined idea of what those partners could look like. So of course we were going to reach out to the author of the resolution and see what resource, or excuse me, what research, if any, they have available already. We were going to consider just interviewing our own college students. I was going to reach out to a couple of foundations and just ask them about their interaction with giving students resources that may or may not affect their financial aid. Of course, the financial aid offices. Some of the key representation or the key representative programs that we decided to focus on were EOPS, TRIO, CalWorks, CARES, Quinte, Pi Theta Kappa, or Phi Theta Kappa, and we were going to reach out to our veterans resources offices and rising scholars, UMOJA, various student life offices, offices of student equity, and then DSPS. Rad2, can you remind me what DSPS stands for? Olivia? I might have lost her. That's okay.
Okay, just to answer your question, pretty much it's most of the colleges use DSPS, but it's pretty much disabled student services. They have it called PACT at some colleges like Shasta. Some of them it's called like SAC. They have different terms to them, but it's pretty much disabled services for students with disabilities.
Okay. Okay, so what we were going to do is sort of just identify a way to reach out to some of these groups, and we gave an assignment to Rad5 to draft a letter, and then we were hoping to have some of this information compiled by this meeting. Unfortunately, life got very, very busy. I'm a parent, I'm also a working mom, and I ended up kind of dropping the ball a little bit on getting everybody to pool their resources again. I did get a really great report back from Delegate Jarvis, which I'll share with you in just a moment. And then I wanted to share with you a final objective I think was really good and clarifying. Were just to define why students should not be forced to report resources as financial aid, to review the positives and negatives of the outcome that we're seeking, which is to not have students affected on their financial aid, and also to develop a digital and printable one-page informational tool that communicates these ideas so that we can disseminate that on our toolkits landing page on the SSCCC website, and so that we can also have something that students can take with them when we go to like workshops or hold our advocacy events. And then let's see, the responses that I got from this task force member. This just gives you an insight into some of the information that we were looking for. So we talked about this program at Cabrillo, which gives out grocery cards and et cetera. They're careful on, he says they're careful on how they hand it out because they've been accused of fraud in the past for handing out too many. So we have to be careful about how these things are reported and understanding how they're reported. The Rising Scholars Program hands out various gift cards for our essentials, right? Gas, clothing, cafeteria foods. And these students do have to report these gift cards, and we might have a good student testimony available to us out of Cabrillo as somebody who's experienced having their financial aid affected. He did some research outreach to the Dream Resource Center, and they determined that they used to hand out gift cards but are unable to now because of unstable funding for the program. And also they had to report it. So it sort of made, if you think about that, it also makes work for these offices as well. And that's something that we'll want to consider as we put together our final information sheet. And then, yeah, you can see there were a couple of offices that he reached out to, and we're hoping to do the same thing with some of those other ones I mentioned before. So that's all I have right now, but I'd be happy to take any questions or even possibly some guidance on where people would like to see this go next. And then if we're out of time on it, I'd be happy to continue communicating by email or in the document.
We
Anybody
actually have
wants-
quite a bit of time still left on this.
Okay.
I think the biggest dilemma I think that we all kind of discussed is this obviously is at the federal level of a lot of the financial aid that's affected. So I think that was the biggest dilemma that a lot of us faced was
Yeah.
that advocacy would be at the federal level, which becomes a little more challenging for the SSCCC to tackle. Not impossible, but I think that was just the biggest dilemma.
Right.
Is there any questions or comments?
Okay, and if you're on my task force, I'll be reaching out to you within the week so that we can finalize or gathering some of that information. I appreciate anybody who can still give time now that most of your semesters have ended. I will still be working on it. If you are not on my task force and you come across information that would be helpful, please feel free to get in touch with me or forward that information to me. I'd be really grateful.
All right. Seeing no hands. Nope. Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to the next item, C, which is Resolution S23-02-06. This is minimum education requirements for California police officers. Brad, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so we're still working on coordinating with this resolution. So we're probably not going to have anything significant to present until the next meeting on June 28th. And so I sent out a when to meet to get everyone together, as well as I created a resolution work folder that we can all work from. And so I think just the matter is just coordinating with everybody. So I'll be following up with the when to meet again to get everybody together, and we'll have something substantial for the next meeting, hopefully to approve.
Is there any questions from anybody? Comments? All right, seeing none. Our next meeting, I was going to look at having one, so we meet the requirements for June as it's a kind of end of year kind of outgoing meeting on June 28th. I would like to try to make it really quick. I'll give the opportunity if the task force want to give them maybe like a 15-minute thing to go through real quick, and then I just recap of anything that anybody wants to bring to the table and talk about an open item of just their good experiences, positive experiences, and anything that you want to give me feedback on. And I will definitely pass on to the next board if it's something significant there or whatever it may be. I'm going to be continuing on as VPRA, so we can have the next board to be successful as well. But just more of like an outgoing kind of thing is what I'm kind of looking at of doing and stuff like that. So if we don't have quorum or not, I plan to have the meeting either way. Just more just like there's not really anything that's going to be actionable on there, unless we want to approve the minutes. But we can do that. And if we don't have quorum, then we'll just postpone the minutes and just go through all of it as informational purposes. So with that said, I did attach. If you guys already haven't, most of you probably already have done your state of regional thing. Supposed to be done twice a year. Roughly around like December time and then towards the end. So if you guys have not done that yet in your last regional meeting, if you're going to have one in June and you want to get your stipend completely, then I'd recommend that you do something like that if you already haven't. Yeah, so with that said, I did attach a good example of one that RAD 10 actually provided to me as a written one. So we have that there, and I'd be more than willing to attach it to the next agenda too, if anybody has one that they want to present, or ending of term report, whatever you want to do. Not required. It's nothing in the bylaws or anything, rules or anything like that. If you want to have the end of year report, that will be archived with the SSCCC. I'm more than willing to attach it in the agenda, and it'll become a permanent archived record. Just kind of maybe a highlight on anything that you may have done, or whatever you feel that may be appropriate that you guys want to do. And not required, like I said, but I'll attach it in the agenda and make sure it's accessible to everybody as well. And then, like I said, it will become archived within the documents of the SSCCC. And with that said, hopefully I will see everybody at the next board of directors meeting that's in Long Beach, so we can say our farewells to the ones that are outgoing and new responsibilities to a lot of the people that are returning. I also do have a surprise that for everybody, that your hard work and stuff like that of all the RADs that I would like to present at the Long Beach meeting as well. So with that said, you know, it's not going to be an official thing, but I'm going to have all of you for maybe about like a 15-minute worst case scenario, just meet up somewhere. And I've got some kind of recognition that I have for everybody that's on this board. And I feel that you all did hard work in some way or capacity, and I would like to recognize you guys for that. So with that said, I see the hand of Madam President. I'll go ahead and recognize you. I'm sorry if you had your hand up for a while, but I didn't catch it.
Yeah, no worries. I just wasn't sure this was going to be seen, but if I can ask Olivia to hang back for a little bit after the meeting.
Gotcha. Okay. So Olivia, Rad 2, if you could stay, that would be great. With that, is there anybody else that has anything that they'd like to say before we adjourn the meeting? All right, then seeing that there is no further stuff, I will release everybody. Yes, and congratulations all the grads as well, as Rad 10 had mentioned. Yes, yeah. That's why we're having it today and not last week. And I'm actually almost forgot about this meeting because I'm so used to being last week. So I'm glad I remembered. Because that would have been awfully bad if I would have forgotten. You guys were just hanging out together. So with that said, the meeting is adjourned at 6:36 p.m.
Thank you, Robert.
And I'm going to start kicking people out because I'm not sure.
All right. Robert, before you do that, go ahead and just make sure that you have access to the minutes and on your side. Because I know that there was multiple pending minute files.
Send me the link. And then what I'll do is if I don't, like, send it to my email, the VPRA email. And then if I can't access it, then I'll just like shoot you an email or text, and then you can just correct it.
All right. I'm just gonna do that right now. Also, Robert, congratulations on your graduation.
Yes, yes.
From Valley there. I saw
Valley and Crafton. Yes.
I saw that. I was sitting in the back. I'm like, is that Robert sitting there?
Yeah, right up in the front in the sun.
Up.
Yes.
I'm like, I know that guy. All right, let's. All right.
Cassandra, you want to set up for some reason? I don't know why, but it's not giving me access to kick people out. So you might want to set up a Zoom just really quick, or I can set a Zoom meeting up and just send it to her. Or if you want me to be in it as well.
No, you can make a breakout room as well.
All right, Robert. Just confirm that you got the email and we're good.
Yes, I got them. I got it.
All right. All right, guys. Have a good one.
All right.
And Robert, it's probably because you're not listed as a host.
You know what? Okay, claim host, inner host key. What the heck? I have no idea how to key. Hold on. Yeah, because it won't let me do a breakout room either.
Because you're not a host.
Yeah, yeah. Right, I should be. Oops, no.
Olivia, why don't we go ahead and you join the Zoom link I'm about to send to you?
Yeah, it's not letting me do it.
Olivia, did you receive the Zoom link I just sent in the chat?
Yes.
All right, why don't you go ahead and join that Zoom meeting link?
Did you want me there or no? Or is it?
No.
Awesome. All right.